Hey, Ryan, it's great to see you again, and welcome to the Simplifying Entrepreneurship podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. And I'm looking forward to talking again.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. The show released. I was just kind of going back and listened to it earlier today on your podcast, The Blue Collar Culture. And we discussed one of my core concepts, the 5 Ps. And, if anybody here loves our conversation today, head on over to Blue Collar and the Blue Collar Culture and listen to some of the great stuff that Ryan has on his podcast too. And today I'm excited because we are going to talk about one of those Ps. And it's one of the ones that gives most entrepreneurs the most frustration, but also creates the most freedom. And it's your people.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the thing that I'm most passionate about. So I'm excited. It's one of the 5 Ps. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. It's whenever I'm talking to entrepreneurs and working through people, or working through process and all these different things, those are the couple stumbling blocks. It's like, how do I deal with my people, and what do I do, and how do I attract better clients, and all this sort of stuff. So, attracting rockstar employees, as you put it, is such an important piece of allowing our growth and giving us the ability to actually take some of the accountability off our shoulders so that we can, not be involved in every small decision within our businesses too. And, why should employers focus on attracting talent and not just finding it, Ryan?
I think the thing is most people out there don't like looking for work.
No.
Most people just it's stressful. Last thing I want to do is tell my spouse I want to quit my job and I'm going to just go out into this ether and hope I land something. It's a really stressful time for people looking for work. So if we as employers are hoping that we are going to find people looking for work, which is what most people do, we're going to be extremely disappointed, because the truth is the only people looking for work are those that have to look for work. And the people that have to look for work typically, not saying all of them, typically aren't going to be the best employees. It's the truth.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the articles I read earlier this week, Ryan, was around the idea that, through the great,
pandemic?
The great,
the Great Resignation.
Yeah, the Great Resignation.
Yes.
So for whatever reason, it lost my mind. But,
No worries.
through the Great Resignation, I read this article, and it was around this idea that over the last couple of years, as so many people have resigned, about 50% of those people actually wish they had their job back. I don't know whether you read that one or not.
Yeah, it's actually 53%.
There you go.
Calling it the Great Regret.
Yeah.
But, pride and lack of humility really keeps people from knocking on your door saying, I made a mistake.
Yeah. So isn't that an opportunity really for people saying, hey, if they're not happy where they are now, then maybe that's an opportunity for the better employers to be able to offer something and a reason for them to come?
I think it goes back to pride and a lack of humility, right? As an employer, the last thing that I want to do is call the person that abandoned me when I needed them and say, hey, welcome arms, come back. And which is a real bummer. It's really unfortunate, because if we can get past all of that, we could create some great relationships and have some great opportunities. But I absolutely believe that the people that have left your company that you would hire back, and I get you won't hire them all back, but that you would hire back, they're part of your bench. They're sitting there waiting to play the game with you. And if you could just bring it upon yourself and your team to reach out to them and say, hey, how are things? Now, part of that, you have to leave on good terms.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah.
As long as you leave on good terms, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and say, how's it working out? Because if there's ever an opportunity, I'd love to have you back. You'd be at 53% of those people that left would be like, oh my gosh, please take me back.
I got to tell you that, we own some retail stores, Ryan. And even when I was in the service-based business for, more than a dozen years, I have had real good success with hiring people back when they left and they actually found out what life was like on the other side, let's say. And then they kind of come back and they're like, you know what, I miss working here. And, those people that have come back, and I still have a few working for me right now in our retail stores, are some of my very best, most loyal employees.
Absolutely. They've seen what the other side looks like, and it's fresh. And they're like, I don't want to screw this up. It's so good here.
You know,
Absolutely.
what are the biggest reasons for turnover, and what can owners do about it when you're running into this kind of stuff, Ryan?
Yeah. So everything we do is predicated on this phrase. And I ask audiences all over the country to finish it for me. People don't leave jobs. They leave
Leaders.
people. They
Yeah.
leave leaders. They leave bosses. They leave toxic
Yeah.
cultures. They leave all of that. They leave people. And so if you're struggling with retention, the solution is looking back at you in the mirror. It's really a tough thing to swallow. I get it. But people leave people. They don't leave jobs, which is why you asked me about attraction earlier, which is why when you're attracting people, you need to attract them with the same thing that they are leaving. It's not the job. It's not the money. It's not the work. It's the people. But for some reason, there's not very many employers out there that are actually promoting their company culture, their people, their leaders. They're out there promoting the job just like everybody else. And then they're disappointed because nobody's applying.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I just finished doing a little podcast around this idea of, are you a convincing leader or are you a coaching style leader? And,
Mm,
that idea that people want to be involved with other leaders that are coaching them along and helping them get better, as opposed to, cracking the whip and saying, hey, this is how it's done, get to it type thing. Right.
yeah.
It's an interesting thing. So I completely agree with that statement for sure. Is it possible when you're finding and when you have, like, I've got some awesome employees and I'm so grateful. I don't, they're just, without my team, I wouldn't be able to have the conversation here with you.
Yeah.
So when we look at that kind of stuff and we say, hey, listen, I don't have to be at my stores 7 days a week. In fact, I'm rarely at my stores because I've got a great team. They know what to do. They know their processes. They know the promise. They know all that sort of stuff. And it's in alignment.
Yeah.
So how do we go out and, clone those kind of people and find more of them?
Mm. Boy, you said we only got like a few minutes, right? That could be a whole
Yeah.
series of shows, but I'll tell you one thing. The first thing that I run into, and I started asking companies this a lot. Everybody believes they have a hiring problem right now.
Yeah.
Everybody believes that the problem is hiring. And I'll ask these small business owners, how many people did you have on your payroll at the end of 2021, last year, right? How many people did you have on your payroll? And they're like, 43. How many W-2s did you issue for that year? 191. You don't have a hiring issue. Let's be very clear. You have a retention issue. And I think that some people need to your question, how do you clone those people? Some people need to start looking at the people they have and say, how can these people become more engaged and help me clone them? Because here's the truth. If you've got a great employee and they've got the right value system, the right motivators, the right drive, they have that. Guess who their friends are? People just like them.
Exactly.
And if you want to clone them, engage them and ask for their help. One of the shifts we make real early on with our clients is we talk to them about how many people do they have on their team for recruiting. Usually it's like, oh, I got 1 or 2 or 3 or the owners involved. Let's go back to that example of 43 people. You have 43 recruiters on your team, just like you have 43 marketers, just like you have 43 salespeople. Now, that might not be the role you pay them for.
Yeah.
But when your office manager goes home and complains to their spouse about the Yahoo they work for, that's called marketing. Not good marketing, right? You might need some PR to overcome that, but that's marketing. And when people are out there talking about kind of the blah job or the Yahoo that they work for, it's going to be a really struggle to clone the great people. But if you have these good people and they're engaged and you've equipped them with the tools they need to have these conversations, they're going to go out to their friends and family and be like, you're not going to believe what my boss just did. It was amazing. And they're going to post it on social and they're going to share it with all their friends and their family, and everything else. And you're all of a sudden, people are going to start coming and saying, I want what they've got. and you're going to start cloning some of your best people.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Do you recommend when you look at that sort of stuff that, reaching out to your employees and saying, hey, listen, um, if you know somebody who's interested in coming to work with us, you know our culture, you know our systems, all that sort of stuff, and go out there. Do you recommend actually giving them a bonus if they find somebody? And do you do that sort of stuff with the people you work with?
I do believe so. We do a lot of work around employee referral programs, and I do
Right.
believe in rewarding them for the activity, the ask, right? The ask
Hmm.
is, do you know anyone?
Exactly.
And if so, would you refer them to me? So the ask is the referral. Just so we're clear, it's
Hmm.
not the new hire.
Yep.
It's never
No.
the new hire. It's just the referral.
Right.
And I do believe in rewarding them. However, only about 6% of people will be motivated by cash
Yeah.
or recognition to do that. If I'm an A player and I'm a good employee and I'm treated well and I know my boss cares about me, if you were to give me the tools to have the conversation, equip me with some of the things I need to say or do, I'm going to go tell people, because guess what? I want to work with my friends. Like, let's just be clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
Exactly.
and Gallup has proven this year after year with their engagement survey. People want to work with their friends. So it's human nature that they want to refer. The problem is what happens, a couple of things, but one is we think that money is a motivator when it almost never is. And that's all we do is we just say, hey, there's money in exchange for it. We don't do anything to equip them with how to have the conversation or the tools or the skills or any of that stuff to have that. Because remember, looking for work is stressful. The last thing I'm going
Yeah.
to do is call my brother and be like, hey, I know Jen is still pissed at me because that last crazy harebrained idea, but can you go tell your wife that I want you to quit your job and come work at my company? I'm going to get like $500 if you're here 90 days. He's going to hang up the phone on me and be like, no.
Yeah. Exactly.
But we think that if we just say, hey, I need a referral to do it, and we don't equip them with the tools. And so that's one of the reasons that they don't work very often. But I absolutely believe that referrals are the best way to go. But it takes time, and it takes
Yeah, it does.
your ability as a leader to coach your team on how to do those things.
We're always looking at our bench strength as leaders. I know you mentioned that idea around bench, and I have a tool that I use called your bench strength, and it's just it's so important to have bench strength, and you know what? Over the last couple of years, for a lot of companies, that's dried up, and they're having to go back and reassess how they've had bench strength in the past. And I love this idea. I wrote it down here: equip them for referrals. And I think that
Yeah.
was a really good takeaway here today too, Ryan.
Yeah.
I want, as our time wraps up here, I want to let you reach out and tell everybody how to reach a hold and get a hold of you and your business. CoreMatters, all that stuff. So why don't you tell them a little bit about your business and how to get a hold of you, Ryan?
Yeah. So at CoreMatters, we are primarily a coaching and training company, help you develop these processes and systems so that you can attract, hire, and retain the best people. And we have a real strong emphasis on the front line. So a lot of hourly workers, a lot of craft workers, skilled labor. That's really a big emphasis for us. But if you go to thecorematters.com, that's our website. We've got free training for you. We got a free masterclass you can sign up for. I've got a book all about interviewing and how to get people to show up authentically during the interview. You can download my book, plus lots of other training and things that you can learn. But the masterclass will really expose you to what it is that we do, how we do it, and how you can get results like many of our clients do.
That's so awesome. Well, thanks so much. It's been great to reconnect.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed our conversation here today, talking around one of the P's, people, such an important piece. So thanks for spending some time with us here today, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.